Hello and welcome back to Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan, and I'm joined today by my lovely cohort of co-hosts, Alex and Wyatt.
Coming
Hello.
to you live from inside an Uncrustable.
My new strategy
It's
is to
so
say all of your
sticky in
names
here.
as fast as possible so that Alex can't say his anecdotes, and yet he still finds a way to do it.
You can't stop the
All
anecdote,
right.
Ryan, as much as you try.
I can't
I'm
stop.
covered in
Won't
jelly.
stop.
Keep going, right? Don't stop.
Okay.
First game. Let's go.
First game. Who wants to start? I'm gonna save my pick for a little bit later because I think we're gonna have a lot to say about that one. So who wants to kick us
Let's get Doom
off?
out of the way. I feel like of all the
All right.
things we're going to talk about, I think we have the least to say about Doom.
Really?
Which is not a bad thing, I'll say.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so my pick was Doom Eternal. Sorry,
Doom the Dark Ages.
I've literally been calling it Eternal
All
I
day.
just did a minute ago.
It's because the Dark Ages just like doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Really, I like it. I like Doom the Dark Ages.
I'm not
It's
saying
got
it's
like
a bad title. I'm saying it's easier. Eternal's easier to
feels
say.
like a Lord of the Rings movie, you know?
Oh
Doom
yeah,
the
no, it's
Dark
a good
Ages.
title. Very fitting title.
I can't wait for the
this
third
is-
game, Doom the Two Towers. Wait, no, Doom Return of the King. That's the third
Return
one.
of the Slayer.
Return of the Slayer.
We're already on the third game, which is great.
Oh.
Yeah,
2016 Eternal.
So anyway, this is the third Doom game, or the third modern iteration of Doom. This is a prequel, and it's got kind of like a heavy metal medieval vibe going on. Feels very Warhammer to me, at least on the surface. It kind of continues the tradition. I guess it's a tradition now where it has to drastically change Doom with every single release, which I actually
Honestly, I'm kind of digging at this point.
no, I respect it. I think it's very interesting that you can have three games that are all part of the same series and have a lot of similar fundamentals, but are also very, very different in a lot of ways.
I enjoyed how they reinvented the wheel by adding spikes to it and letting you parry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big thing this time around, the game's a lot slower than Eternal. Well, sort of. There's a literal game speed option that will speed up projectiles and enemies and all this stuff, which I thought was kind of funny. But it's slower in the sense that there's a lot less like jumping around and meat hooks and all this stuff. It's more
A little bit more like
I think the
standing your ground.
well, that's literally the tagline is like stand your ground or something like that, where you got this giant chainsaw shield, which might be the fucking most cool.
It is probably
badass
my
thing I've ever
favorite Doom
fucking
weapon
heard.
that they've ever conceived.
It's incredible. And you're parrying, you're blocking, you're like deflecting attacks back at enemies. You're throwing it and impaling it into enemies. You can superheat like enemy shields and then throw it, and the shield explodes. It's fucking sick. There's some light puzzles involved with it as well. But yeah, the whole thing is very slow or slower, I should say, which I think has rustled a couple jimmies in the Doom community, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing a lot of the talk and chatter about this game because it's reviewed really well. Its Steam scores are really good. I think it's just like because it plays so differently from Eternal, and Eternal played so differently from 2016. I don't know. This one, I think 2016 is probably still my favorite just because of the sheer simplicity of it. It's like such a good, just classic style shooter, but with everything dialed up to 11. But I really bounced off of Eternal. Even I went back and tried to play it before this, thinking like maybe my opinion would have changed. And I still don't love Eternal, like not due to any fault of the game. I think it's just a little bit the way that the weapons work in Eternal and the type of them just never felt as satisfying to me as in 2016.
Yeah, you had to swap through them a lot more actively, I think, in sort of like a
there was like a weird
puzzle game
rhythm to
style,
it
as opposed to just
that was odd. I think this game gets that rhythm way better. To me,
it tones it down to a point where you can still get immersed in the carnage without having to micromanage everything, I think.
I
Oh,
am
Doom and the
actually
Goblet of Fire. Got it. for their fourth game.
you got all out of your system. Anything else? Anything else you want to Or are you good?
I think that's it.
Okay. So I'm actually the exact opposite. To this day, Doom Eternal's 5 years old now. I, to this day, am still in awe of Doom Eternal's design. I think it is one of the most tightly designed shooters I've ever fucking played.
Which
I
I agree
love
with. I'm
Eternal
fully with
so
you on that.
much.
It's just a design that I personally don't like as much.
Which is fair. Well,
Um,
and that's the whole thing about how all three of these Doom games are very different, and so they're going to appeal to different people. To me, Eternal is fucking incredible. um, I love it. Every gun has its very specific purpose. It feels like a different tool that you have to use in the puzzle that is the combat encounter. And it's so fast and it's so frantic, but also so like organized and so deliberate with everything. And it just, again, even 5 years on, I'm still in awe of that game's design. Other than the Marauders, I know over time people are okay with the Marauders now. I still hate them. I still think they suck.
mhm.
And they're obnoxious. Which they brought back for this game, which makes me kind of sad. The thing about Dark Ages for me is I think it's a really, really fun game that has the unenviable task of following up what is, in my opinion, one of the best designed shooters I've ever played in my life. I think it's a difference between a game that is very well made and a game that is very intelligently made. I think Eternal is very intelligently made. Like, to me, it's like that game is made by fucking geniuses. The Dark Ages is really well made. It's really fun. The guns have some chonk. They feel chonky and they feel great. There's some really creative ones this time around. There's one that's like just shoots railroad spikes into people, which is great.
Which is
Obviously,
the most fun gun in the game.
oh yeah. The one that shoots like a basically like a flail, like a chain shot into someone's face, which is great. The gun that like crushes up all the skulls and shoots out little skull flecks at people. They're fantastic. They're fucking great. Um, I think it's a very different kind of game, and which to me makes it feel like I can't really compare the two because I think they have very different goals overall. But I really like Eternal. I really like the more open missions that have sort of objectives in different parts of the map, and there's tons of little
Mhm.
secrets and all sorts of stuff, which feels very similar to like classic Doom design, but I feel like it's a little bit more clear what you're supposed to be
I actually
doing, and some
really
people are
liked
gonna
how
like
they
that.
handle the mapping and secrets in this one. It
Yeah,
reminded me a
yeah.
lot of the classic Doom stuff, for sure.
Same. I it's funny for some people it's like, oh, they felt really lazy this time around. I just felt like things were better communicated and not in a way that is made for stupid people. I think it's just well designed.
Yeah, I
You know
think
what
I
I
had a
mean?
moment with this one where I finished the first level, and I was like, oh, I felt like I did pretty good. I found like a couple of secrets. I figured I did well, and it was like, oh, you missed 6 of them. And I was like, what?
Yeah. How?
So
How?
I,
How?
I then replayed it. It was like, oh, well, there's like so much more in some of these than you think there is, which I really like. I also just love the way that the combat flow feels in this compared to Eternal, because the thing I disliked about Eternal, and this is the thing why I liked, so your mileage is going to vary on this, I think, based on what your thought is on how you felt about Eternal if you played it. I didn't love the like rotational feeling of Eternal, where you'd rotate weapons in that toolkit sense, where I tend to prefer the design of like my simple primary weapons that fit different situations but aren't required, and then my like power weapons that are the fight enders, like classic Doom design. And this one feels more in that space where I have this loop that's really satisfying of regular weapons, which combos into your melee hits, which are kind of a power weapon equivalent in a lot of ways, in addition to the actual power weapons. But it feels like those melee hits are really chunky and built really well into the loop. And then there's the parrying, which is just very
They added parrying
satisfying.
in a Doom game.
It's very satisfying, and it's weird because it makes it very video gamey, if that makes sense. Like Dark Ages, even more so than Eternal, which the rotation felt video gamey. Like it's not a thing that, if you're thinking like playing The Last of Us, that doesn't make sense in the context of that type of game, right? But in a Doom game, it doesn't. No one really cares that much, I think, about being immersed in a game like Doom to the point of it not being video gamey, and so these like gamey things fit in really well.
You're immersed in Doom on its own terms. In
It's like
terms of, like,
flow
this is
state
a
that it
video game.
forces you
But
into.
you're not like immersed in the typical narrative.
Yeah, like suspending of disbelief is not a problem for me with Doom, which means the video gamey parts of it don't bother me, and that parrying then just feels really satisfying, and getting the different timings down is very fun and funky because there's really different timings with certain attacks and whatnot. You'll learn like the crossbow dudes will shoot really fast, but the other enemies will shoot very slowly, and it'll only be one of their bolts that has the parry on it. And lots of cool stuff like that. And you could also just use the shield almost in a way that reminded me, Wyatt, of Returnal, where you'd use it as like a blocker for the almost like bullet hell moments where you can just have the shield held up.
There's a lot of this game that actually reminds me of Returnal. There's a lot of, it feels more bullet hell like than I think the other Doom games did.
Yeah, which I like.
There's attacks where it's like a crazy wall of energy being shot at you, and there's only one side of the wall or one corner of the wall that can be parried properly. So you have to position yourself into the right area for the attack in order to like deflect it back at your enemies. The only part of the parrying or the deflecting, all of that I wasn't a fan of is that there are times where they really have to like jut you in place. If you're like a little ways away from an attack and you want to parry it, they'll make it work. Like the timing is pretty forgiving in that aspect, which doesn't actually bother me that much. But in order to make it work, they have to like teleport you forward a little bit, and I think that can be very disorienting. Even though I'm 12 13 hours in the game, it's still a little disorienting sometimes when situational awareness is such an important part of all of these Doom games. There are times when I'm constantly being moved around because I'm trying to deflect things where I get a little lost as to where the fuck I am. I wish that had felt smoother, or they could or just deflect it without having to like teleport yourself there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. I do also want to mention the music, because we haven't mentioned music yet.
This
Not
is the
Nick
other
Gordon.
kind of, yeah, for obvious
I
reasons.
really like it still.
I
but-
think it's good. I don't remember the studio that made the music off the top of my head. They have an incredibly unenviable task of following up Mick Gordon's work. And I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I don't like it as much as Mick Gordon's work. It just fits Doom so perfectly in a way that I feel like no other sound could. I do think what they do have is very, very good and is a solid enough replacement. It's not really gonna replace it.
Yeah.
For me, but I think it's good. I think it definitely kind of fits the vibe. And I think they do an admirable job. For sure.
I'm with you on that. I think there are parts where it feels really good to me, which is why it's growing on me the more I play of this. And that's like the right before the fight starts, they do the lead into a fight really well, where it suddenly just starts, the bass starts kicking in before the actual like heavy metal guitar riffs start going off, and you get this like thumping right before the fight actually starts, which I love. That's the type of thing that I really enjoy.
That's the
where
one
the music
thing
kind of adjusts to it.
That's one of the things it does well, is that it doesn't just sound good. I feel like it's used properly.
Yeah, fits the game
which is
really
such
well.
a big thing. It goes such a long way for even like a mediocre score, which this isn't, but it can take a mediocre score from mediocre to pretty good if it's used properly. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
So it's time to talk
unfortunately.
about the dragon, Wyatt.
Well, first I want to transition from main gameplay.
I don't think I
which
made
is-
it to a dragon. What?
I want to transition
did
from
I,
main
Alex. It's
gameplay,
pretty far
which is
in.
tip-top shape, good stuff. Really, not a whole lot of complaints there. I want to talk about Atlan's, so you can control giant mechs in the game, giant robots. I think these sections are okay.
Wait, there's more than one?
Yes.
Oh.
They're okay. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're terrible. They're just kind of okay.
A way to vary it up a little bit.
Yeah, they work for what they are. Basically, you get into this giant mech and you can punch. There's dodges. There's like perfect, I think there's like perfect blocks and perfect dodges, which builds up a meter so you can do a more powerful attack. It's very, very straightforward. I think they get the sense of scale really, really well. You definitely feel like you're a giant, towering, robot.
Pacific Rim style mech.
Yeah, it does. It does feel good in that respect. But I feel like just the combat itself is very meh, and the enemy variety is also not great either. It's a lot of the same kind of giant demon over and over again. It's okay. It kind of breaks up the action a little bit, and and it doesn't typically overstay its welcome, but it's okay. Um, but we gotta talk about the Cyber Dragon now, which can I just say, Doom Guy on a giant dragon with laser wings and a jetpack and dual miniguns on top should be the coolest fucking
Amazing
thing I've
idea.
ever seen.
Amazing concept.
Great idea. I don't know if anyone else here has gotten to that section yet.
I
It
haven't.
seems like
Damn.
Don't think so.
No.
Which, as a reminder,
When
we
you're-
only generally play an hour to 2 hours of these games that we talk about here, unless someone really gels with it, like Wyatt has with with Dark Ages and has been playing more.
Yeah. When you're playing a flight game, whether it's a plane, whether it's a spaceship, whether it's whatever, if you're flying around, there's a sense of momentum and a sense of flow that you want to
And like
have.
weight to the
And
vehicle
weight.
that you're in.
The problem with flying around this dragon is that there's like none of it, basically. You can kind of fly in all four directions. You can hold shift and it kind of soars through the air, which feels okay. The problem is almost all of the combat with the dragon feels bad. Because there's no dogfights at all. You're not flying around with other ships trying to get behind them and like shoot them and stuff. 90% of the combat boils down to holding like I think it's either left trigger or like right mouse button or whatever, which like kind of locks you into one enemy, and then you're just kind of dodging, and when you do a perfect dodge you hit them with a really big shot, and then you shoot them a little bit, and then you just kind of dodge again, and it just
So
like
it's like
locks
weird
you in
Panzer
place.
Dragoon and not
Yeah,
a dogfighting
I
game.
I get their whole thing is like parrying and all of this stuff. I really feel like it should not have applied to the dragon at all. It feels bad, and it just doesn't feel like you're flying at all. And other than that, there's just like occasionally you like kind of chase down other ships, or there's some optional arenas that you fight just on foot. But they're really they're not frustrating. It's just the frustration comes from like what could have been, and what should have been a fucking amazing concept was just I feel like
It comes from what you're not doing rather than what you are doing.
it genuinely feels like they had so much more planned for this, and then they had to cut like 70% of it just to like make a deadline or something. And I kind of feel that way with the Atlan sections as well. Again, they're never long enough to a point where it really bothers me that much, but it they stick out when the actual main like on foot combat feels so good and so polished, and everything else just feels kind of whatever. Actually, it's what this game does really well though is just the moments where you're sitting alone, you're playing, and then you just go, yeah! Like there's a great moment at the end of the first Atlan section where you're trying to carry a bomb. You knew exactly what I was going to mention. You're like carrying basically what's going to explode in an entire town, and you have to like throw it down this pit. And so you're running, you're like on a timer, and then you have to fight this giant demon. And when you finally defeated the demon, his like rib cage is exposed, and he's like lying on the ground. And you decide to just shove this bomb inside of the demon's throat, and then just hurl him into the fucking pit.
Which is
beautiful.
It's sick. There's one in the first level too that I really liked, where you just sit on a machine gun emplacement, shooting a gigantic Titan in the distance, and it's very fun because you see all the bits just pop off as you're doing it. And stuff like that is just very enjoyable. Like puts the sense of scale.
I feel like I felt like that level end was very scripted, but not in a way that didn't make it fun. Like I felt like it was
Doom kind of
I
always
don't-
is. It's not.
I don't know
a
if you
new
could
thing.
fail, but it felt like perfectly timed. Where it's like,
You
oh
can
god,
fail.
he's getting so close.
You
He's
can
getting
fail.
so close.
So,
Yes.
I played this game in two times. I played this myself on my own PC more recently, and then I played it with my dad while I was on vacation visiting him on his Xbox. And he came over to me and was like, "Hey, I can't beat this like section of a level in Doom Dark Ages," and showed me that section. And he just didn't know you had the alt fire that was like the gigantic explosion.
Oh.
Which is basically the BFG. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
It looks
and if
exactly
you
like the
don't
BFG.
do that, you do just get killed every time. Like you have to fire that at least like twice, I think,
Like twice
to be able
or
to kill the
three times.
Titan.
Yeah.
And it was very funny. Like I was just doing, I was like, oh, so look another, and I hit the other trigger and something happened, and he was like, what? It's like, okay.
Oh god, it's been a while since I played it. How well does like the UI convey that to you in
Not great in that instance, because it's kind of like it's a pop-up one time and then it goes away, and I think because he'd retried that section, it wasn't popping up again. So yeah, it was a little bit awkward in that sense, but it's also not super complicated. Like it's just hitting the other trigger.
I'll also say there is part of me where it's like, really a turret section in a Doom game?
I like it.
I don't
It's
know.
only a
horde of
portion of the
enemies.
level, and you
I
have so
think
much more like
the
arena
scale-
fighting in that level.
The scale of it is what's so much fun about it, and it's not just like a bunch of random demons and just shoot, overheat, shoot. It's like this fun set piece.
Yeah, it's a set piece,
like
and it's super short because you only have, it doesn't overheat. You just hold the button down and everything dies. You just gotta aim. So yeah, I really enjoyed the first couple levels here. I didn't make it to the dragon sections, so no dragon feedback from me. But yeah, otherwise I had a good time with this one. I have a feeling I'm probably going to be finishing this Doom game compared to Eternal. Yeah, I had a good time. I enjoyed it a lot.
I don't think I like it as much as Eternal, but again, I feel weird comparing the two. It's funny because it's like it's the next Doom game. Of course, you're going to compare it to the previous one, but it is a situation of like these.
It just
games
plays
are
really
so
differently.
different. They're so different that like, yeah, it's the follow up to Doom Eternal, but at the same time, I don't feel like a comparison is very fair between the two because you're going to have a lot of people that like the Dark Ages and don't like Eternal, and you're going to have a lot of people that are, vice versa. So it's. You can't. There's not really much you can do to compare the two. Personally, I think I prefer Eternal, but that's just because I prefer the way Eternal does things. But I still think that this is fucking great, and I have no qualms with recommending it to anyone who is like mildly interested, because I think you're going to get a lot out of it.
Sweet. And Alex, you want to mention why you've been pretty quiet about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I can't run the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll add on to this.
just
It did
basically-
crash multiple times for me, so I think there are maybe some tech things to
You
get sorted
have
out.
a much nicer, newer rig than me. I went, I even downloaded it. And then I had this thought, I think I saw somebody online mention, they were like, oh, I'm so sad I can't play it because I don't have a graphics card that can do ray tracing. And I was like, oh, I do, but just barely. I'm like, I am the line, So I looked at the requirements and I went, okay, I meet the operating system and the RAM requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, weirdly enough,
I uninstalled the game.
in an inverse to every other situation, it's been totally fine for me.
Yeah,
I think
wild.
maybe-
No way.
Yeah, I think maybe it crashed once after maybe like the 3-hour mark, but it's been like smooth sailing since then. I've had to drop a couple settings. I can't run this game on max, but I mean, I think even on like a mix of mostly medium.
Well, I
with
can't
some
run the
high
game
settings,
on minimum, so.
Yeah. For once in my fucking life, I got out kind of scot free.
All
I'll
right.
take my victories where I can get them. God damn it.
Well, Wyatt, what's your next game gonna be?
Yeah, I was trying to
Oh,
figure
crap.
out whether I want to do funky fun multiplayer thing or single player thing. And I think I've picked a lot of single player stuff recently, so I'm going to go with the funky fun multiplayer thing, which will definitely be a future episode that we stream. I'm picking FBC Firebreak,
Okay.
which
Interesting, cool.
which is the Control multiplayer shooter spinoff.
I'm Interested
Which
to play
was-
this game.
Yeah,
which was
I'm
not
also.
which was not on my bingo card or anyone else's bingo card for that fucking matter.
Hey, great. Okay,
I want
let's.
Alan Wake to appear in my first-person shooter.
Please, I want him to be an enemy. He shows up and is a boss level.
Oh god, he's
Okay.
blinded me with the flashlight.
I'm blind. Let's jump to Dredge. Or actually, no. Yeah, Dredge. What am I saying?
Yeah. Let me
Dredge
talk.
next. Is a good one.
Tumblr game.
Because you couldn't speak this
No,
time.
it's okay.
For a second, I
No,
thought
it's
the
okay.
other Alex picked that game. I was like, wait a minute.
No. I really enjoyed this game. It's basically a fishing game, but it's like a Lovecraft inspired fishing game kind of where you just play as like a fisherman, but sometimes you sometimes fish up some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And there's some weird stuff going on. There's a lot of ships wrecked for like mysterious reasons and like some like dark magic going on and stuff.
Maybe a little bit of Lovecraftian horror DNA
Yeah,
in there.
yeah. Sometimes I see something under the surface of the water and I don't want to go near it. There's like a day-night cycle, and night is way more dangerous, and there's like sort of a sanity meter where like the more panicked your character is, the more hazards pop up. And there's no combat to the game. It's all a fishing game, but there is sometimes dodging things.
Yeah, you can get like exploded basically
Yeah.
if you're not paying
You can-
close enough attention.
At like high panic levels, like rocks can just like sort of appear in front of you mysteriously. There's like some weather conditions that can do damage to your
Weird
ship.
shadows in the water that reach out and try to kill
weird
you.
shadows, weird fish. I don't want to say too much more than that because the rest would just be getting into the plot, which I think is probably just best left
Mhm.
to be discovered, especially since I really don't know what's going on. I could tell you what I've done and I would still be vague as hell. But I really enjoyed this one. I've played it, let's see. Oh, I've only played it like 3 hours so far. But I'm definitely going to be coming back to this one. This one's been a lot of fun.
I think what this game really nails above all else is its atmosphere. It like just it's like 10 out of 10. It knows
Yeah.
exactly what kind of vibe that it's going for, and it really nails it with like the art style and just the design of the islands that you're traveling to. Just even the way like the UI looks and all the music and everything. It's just like impeccable atmosphere throughout.
If you liked The Lighthouse, this game might be for you. If you like the game Sunless Sea, this game also might be for you because
Very
it's
much
the same game.
Yes. Sunless Sea is a great one to bring up.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go a little against the curve here and be our dissenting opinion on this one. Which is not to say that I think this is a bad video game. I actually think Dredge is a very good video game, but it's a good video game that is not for me, and I think will not be for a lot of people. Because it is just fishing. Like the thing to understand with Dredge, and I love fishing in other games, but I've learned by playing Dredge that I need something else. That I need there to be like another layer of thing. And Dredge starts to get that. Because I think I actually played the most of this game out of any of us. I've played about 6 or 7 hours of Dredge before we did this episode, and then another 2 for the episode. And it just to me is like every time I play Dredge, I get really into it, and then I get really bored.
I could
partway
definitely
through.
see that.
Because I think the thing that happens with me is we've talked about like the quote unquote threats, but as soon as you stop thinking of them as threats, they no longer matter. And the game doesn't really have a way to make you deal with them.
I would say that they're scary like the first or second time you see them.
Yeah.
The big ones I've come across so far, but like once I know it's there, I can avoid it, or at
It's
least
just kind of like just don't deal with it.
know it's coming.
I do think this is a game that's best played in. I think first of all, I think mobile is the way to play.
Switch.
Have
You've been playing it on your Switch,
Great
right?
spot to play.
I've been playing it on. I've been playing it on Switch. They do have like an iOS and Android version as well.
Oh.
I genuinely think, and this isn't even an insult towards the game at all. I think that's the best way to play it in like short bursts.
Yeah.
I think if I were to, I would feel very similarly to Ryan if I were playing this on my PC at home, just giant screen and just playing it for hours on end, I think I probably would get a little bit bored. But there is something to be said for I'm on the bus. I'm gonna do like a 1 or 2 runs and get some fish or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I'm on my half an hour lunch break. I'm gonna eat food and then get a couple of runs in there or something like
Yeah,
that.
I was thinking this may be like a lunch break game for me.
Yeah, I do want to mention
Which
Sunless
sounds
Sea as
demeaning, but I
well.
don't think that's a bad thing at all. It
I
just
want to bring up
that-
Sunless Sea in context here as well, because I love Sunless Sea. I've beaten Sunless Sea a couple of times.
Sunless
There's a little
Sea
bit
is-
more role playing in Sunless Sea.
Yes, so I think the
Yeah,
thing
it's
that I'm
based
missing with
off-
Dredge is a little bit more like direct narrative. As weird as it is to call Sunless Sea a direct narrative, because it really doesn't have one, but I was missing that
It's got
element
a lot
of like
deep lore.
Dredge has a
Sunless
lot
Sea
of
does.
mystery, but not a lot of actual thing going on, if that makes sense. And that distinction is the thing that gets me with a lot of mystery stuff, where it's just like, oh, you keep introducing this as like, oh, they're acting weird, but it hasn't gone anywhere, and presumably isn't going to until the end of the game. So
To kind of jump off of what you're saying, I'm gonna center myself in my camera. Anyway, to jump off of what you're saying too, Sunless Sea, I think like these are 2 games that are quite similar. Sunless Sea is the second game in that series.
the Sunless Skies is
There's
the
like
second. Sunless Sea is the first.
Sunless Sea, okay, maybe not.
They
The second.
did
It's the
Fall in
second game
London,
that
which is a
universe,
text-based thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but they had a ton of lore to build off of already with Fall in London.
Yeah.
So I would almost be curious to see like a Dredge 2, you know, to like build off of what the first game has
Mhm.
already done and like jump in with more going on in the story and world. I do really like Dredge, but I can kind of see where you're coming from for sure. So I would kind of be interested to see that, and I bet we will get that. I think this game was quite well received.
Yeah, it was very successful. And yeah, I think
Notably-
my like complaints are entirely not important for what the game is going for. Like the game isn't necessarily going for being like a narrative thing. I think it's mostly about fishing. So if you know
I
going
don't
in
know.
that you're
I would say
having
it kinda
played a
hinges
lot
on the
more of it,
narrative.
the narrative did not speed up at any point.
Okay,
So
okay.
I would say that like at least don't rely on the narrative being the hook in our quote unquote fishing metaphor here.
It is a fishing game. It's just like a dark fishing
It's
game.
maybe the line pulling you along, but the thing that hooks you should be the fishing. And if you really like the fishing, you'll have a good
Getting
time.
real heavy on the metaphors here, Ryan.
The way I describe it to someone is a subversive cozy game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's
It's
exactly.
like, oh, you're going out and you're getting fish. What's so weird about this? And then nighttime comes and it's kind of scary and it's kind
It's
of
a
spooky.
fucked up fish.
But that's the thing, is
Yeah.
it's subversive cozy game, but it also then just loops back around to being a cozy game because it's not that scary.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with you. It is a cozy game.
It's
With,
spooky.
like,
it's not
Lovecraft aesthetic.
scary.
Yeah, spooky's a good one.
Spooky is never full on like terrifying.
Hmm.
Like I would say like a movie equivalent of spooky is something like
It's a Halloween
uh,
game, not a horror game.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
way to
yeah.
put it. I was gonna say something like Sweetie Todd or something like that, where it's like there's
Mhm.
like a spooky vibe, but it's never really scary.
Its goal is not to terrify.
Yeah. That said, I do
Yeah.
love the art style. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the look of Dredge. I think they did an absolutely masterful job of picking a style for it.
It's
I really
look-
think
It's one of those times where Browntown is like a compliment.
Well, because it's
like,
brown
it's
and they have
gray.
like they play on the watercolor to make it
Mhm.
not look brown because it's brown against the blue of the water that shifts
I
at
also
night to be darker.
think about
Wonderfully muted
Browntown
browns,
too
greens,
is that
blues, and grays.
Yeah.
they also often have the spookier elements have like a colorful glow to them,
Mhm.
which really sticks out. Like, especially if you're going at night or something, and like it's dark as hell, and you're like, "What the hell is under the water that's glowing red?" you know, turn
Don't worry
the other
about
way. Yeah. But yeah, no, maybe there was one brief moment in this game where I had like a surprise, like oh shit moment.
Yeah.
But really, overall, it's a cozy fishing game. It's just H.P. Lovecraft's cozy fishing game, basically.
Hmm.
Less racist than H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah,
with fish.
hopefully so. All right.
Going
Any
underwater?
thoughts
It's
of
actually Nunya.
any thoughts of people gonna plan on finishing this one? Is Dredge something that's been really clicking with y'all?
I think I'm gonna play it in short bursts. You know, I think that's really
Good way to play it.
the key. Yeah.
I might
I
play a
don't
little
know.
bit more when things get less hectic.
I don't
After my
know.
third or fourth DLC run of Lies of P.
The 2 into the philosophy.
I
don't know how
can't.
long
I
this-
I can't stop lying on P, Ryan. Wait. Wait, no.
I'm gonna
game.
go now and
Next game.
not think about that. Anyway, I don't know how long this game is, but I do think I will continue to play it. I don't know if I'll play it to completion or I'll play it to the point where I agree with Ryan and stop playing it.
You'll play long enough, or you'll
clicks,
live long enough to become a villain.
Yeah.
When the game finally clicks, but the clicking is bad.
To become Ryan.
I don't have the expansions for this, so I don't know how much of those add or what. But
I actually have
I'll
heard those
probably
add a
play
pretty
it.
significant amount of like what I'm looking for in the game, so I might end up trying them at some point.
It's partially why I picked it up on Switch, because I got the base game and all the DLC for like $15, which I think is
That's a
great
good
price.
deal.
Does
Yeah.
the Dave
not a
the
bad
Diver
deal.
collab go
Sure.
both ways?
No,
I don't think so, no.
unfortunately. Which would be
Dave the
funny.
Diver
Oh,
in Dredge might feel a little out of tone. I think the other way around is
Whereas
fine.
Dave the Diver can have whatever the fuck, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
really
Dave the Diver's a
matter.
goofy game. It can fit whatever it
I
wants
will
in there.
I will say actually, if you're someone like Ryan who maybe bounced off because there isn't quite enough going on, Dave the Diver might actually
Love
be
Dave the
like
Diver.
the answer.
Yeah,
Dave the
Diver is my
fantastic.
answer to that. I adore Dave the Diver.
It doesn't have the spooky atmosphere, but it has that loop of like.
It's got more in
fishing.
the loop to me. It's got a little bit more
Yeah.
variety, like the restaurant management and stuff.
I would say it does a lot more with that loop for sure.
Yeah. Alex, what is your next Game Pass pick?
I was kind of going to base off of what other people said, and then I went second. I think I'm going to pick The Altars.
That was my other pick.
That was my other pick as well. So
I didn't know
Yay!
this game was even out, but I remember seeing its trailer and thinking it looked very interesting. So
yeah, I'm super into the Altars.
It's
all right.
it's been getting good reviews, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. I forgot it was existing. Otherwise, I would have drafted it.
Let's talk about Lonely Mountain Snow Riders.
Alrighty, it's a skiing game.
Yeah.
That
tell us a
is-
little more.
One game that's ever
almost
skied.
It is a skiing game that has a really, really slow leveling system, in my opinion, to unlock the different sets of skis.
They're pretty interesting perspective too for a skiing game.
Yeah,
Like a downhill game.
It's a perspective that's very pretty, but also constantly gets in your way and is like a quarter of the difficulty.
I'm curious, Alex.
We're going to put all these obstacles in your way.
Were you playing with keyboard or controller for this one?
Controller.
Okay. Yeah, same as me. I actually have come around to really liking Snow Riders. It took a while, though. I don't know if you all agree. It took a while.
It's
to
a
get
really
used
fun
to.
game when I'm just in the sandbox mode. The second there's a timer in the screen, this
It can be
turns into a
hard.
rage game for me. I have screamed at my monitor because of some bullshit going on.
I can't tell you how many times I
partially
clipped a
agree.
tree and had to
Sure,
restart.
yeah.
I
I
partially
agree.
agree with the camera. I feel like there are times when I think what ends up happening if you're playing just like going down the different slopes, right? Or the different tracks or whatever they're called. I think the problem with this is that they're meant to be replayed so you can get a better time. I understand that.
It's meant to be a time
I think-
trial, which isn't
Yes,
super clearly
but I
communicated.
think unique to this game to other time trial stuff that I've played before, your first run in this can be really rough. Like you will eat shit constantly.
Yeah.
I do think partially I am in agreement with Alex. Just sometimes the camera in in kind of combination with the way that the slopes are designed sometimes can really fuck you over and you have very little time to react to
Yeah.
something. And I get that it's
I
meant to be replayed, but it's very frustrating when you feel like it's not really your fault, especially when you're promoted, you're actively encouraged to go as fast as humanly possible.
There's one level
Yeah,
in the third mountain where you're going behind several pillars of like this sandstone rock, and there's a rock in the middle of an icy path that you're going down that you're not going to be able to see.
Yeah, you just have to be at the right position. There's a couple of those in the first mountain and second mountain too. Granted, those are only problems one run through, so like once you've seen them, they're not an issue, but it is a comment. Yeah.
There was I forget the name of the slope off the top of my head, but there was one where it basically opened up to this giant pond, and I
Yes.
had
Where you had
no
to skid
fucking
over
idea
it
where I
multiple
was supposed to go
times.
because it was so huge.
I did
And
exactly.
I
Oh,
had
that's
no
the one
idea,
where
like,
you
do I
go like
up?
all the
Do
way
I
back
go
and
to
you're just
the
like,
left? I
oh.
have no idea.
You actually just ignore the pond. You don't even need to go on the pond.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
go the other
yeah.
direction.
I went all the way like forward through it. I'm just like, wait a
I
second.
think we
There's
all
no way
did
forward.
that.
Yeah. I would say that to me is like the most the thing that I've had the most problem with in Lonely Mountain. And I'll just say I played the first Lonely Mountain game and really liked it, which was the downhill like biking one.
Yeah, I really like that
I
one,
actually also really like this one. I've come around to really liking it. But it took a while because the control scheme is a little wacky. The game at first does like a test to have you see how it controls. I think that shouldn't be there, and it should just default to the other method, the method that's based on where your screen position is, and not the left and right motion. Because
that's what my game defaulted to.
mine did not default to that, because when I saw
Same
the
here.
turns, I thought it meant like hold left to turn left, and I
Yep.
was a little confused. And clearly Alex did the same thing. And like what I had to do is I did a few races like that, and then realized so much of it is going like left to right diagonally, or in other methods that are not like forwards. Well, that
You know
became
what really
super
helped me?
hard to keep track of.
You know what really helped me is if I want to turn, I first hold the stick down in the direction that my character is facing, and then swing it left or right. And I felt as though that was a very clear indication of where he
Yeah, but
was
which
gonna
control
turn.
method were you using? Were you using the screen-based control method?
I actually don't remember off the top of my head. I'm gonna launch it right now and double check.
Yeah, because with me, it defaulted to left and right, which meant it was irrelevant of my character's positioning on the screen. Left would make my character go left, and right would make my character go right, which is really confusing when your character is moving towards you as a player,
Yeah.
from your perspective, and it's opposite, basically. Which like
Especially when they
normally
can
that's
flip
how
around
I.
when you're in the middle of a turn. And there's
Yeah.
one corkscrew area that gets
There were a few spots
wildly
where that
frustrating
really
with
got
that.
me, because it's like just hard to keep track of what's happening in that position, but screen position is really easy to keep track of. So I think having that be an option at the start, it should just be an alternate control method, not a default.
So I was using screen-based steering.
Yeah, that's the one that I found way
Yeah,
easier to use.
I was
Okay.
too.
Okay. Also, I went off on a whole rant before Discord kicked me out, and I don't know if that
It
actually got through
didn't
to you
happen,
guys.
no.
not a
Okay.
bit.
I'm gonna try and see if I can find the name of the track while I'm in the game right now. But there was one track that, Sapphire Sea in the first area.
With the big
Basically,
ice pond.
yes, the
Yeah,
big
we
ice.
all
Yeah.
complained about the ice pond, I think, as you
Fuck
cut
the
out.
big ice pond.
Okay.
Because you don't
Yeah,
even
we
need to
all
go
went
into the
to
ice pond, you
straight
go
up
the
the
other
pond.
direction.
Did anyone else go straight up the
Yep,
pond all the way
absolutely,
to the
yeah.
end, and then you're
Of
like, "What the
course.
fuck is this?"
Well, because your camera's
course I
pointing
did.
that direction, so you think you need to
I
go that
think-
way.
This is gonna sound insane, but not really, because we're having this problem. I think that this game would work better on like a square monitor.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
The biggest problem for me was like when it was left to right, when it was down to up, I could see everything fine. It was when I was Crash Bandicoot straight into the screen,
Yep.
that
I
I
just
started
can't
having
tell if like
problems.
it's a playable area or not. Yeah, like
Hey, sometimes there's
I
like a
agree with
little
you.
hideaway secret, but
I did
that's not
find.
worth losing.
Anyone
my
else find like the
time
rest
over.
camps that you could go and take a
I
little
found 2 of
spot to
them.
chill?
Not
I didn't actually do a lot of the Zen mode or anything like that. I was mostly just doing the tracks.
Yeah, I found them accidentally in the tracks, where I'd take the
Oh.
track and then I'd like see a second path and just cut down it.
Yeah, I
thinking
think
it was
I
a shortcut or
zoomed
something,
past
and-
one.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're neat. You get like a little moment where you can chill out and then keep going.
One thing that I did really love, I am such a sucker for low poly art styles.
Yes.
And I feel like this one's very striking. And I think what really helps is they use depth of field really, really
It almost reminds me
well.
a little bit of Link's Awakening.
Yes,
The
Yeah.
I was
remake.
about to mention that. I was about to mention that.
I
It
really like
just
the art style here.
it
But I
makes you
have
feel like a small person on a giant mountain. And it gets
Yeah.
across that feeling really, really well.
Like you're the only person there. Like it's a little
Looks a lonely mountain.
lonely.
Like
I'm
it's
snow
like
riding.
you're lonely on a mountain, you know? It's
God,
really well
they
done.
make you work for those cosmetics.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I just didn't mess
Well,
with
also
it at
to
all.
unlock the other tracks, because I wasn't actually sure
Yes.
those were locked. Do you have to also level up to unlock those
I think they're
tracks?
locked based on how many objectives you
No,
complete,
it's
kind of. So you
you have to
Oh.
just complete the first basic time trial of each map to unlock the next one.
Which is what I did.
that doesn't. I think you need to complete at least one secondary objective at a certain point to start unlocking the next one.
I did
Because
start
at least for
doing
me,
the black diamond paths on some. of
How'd
the
you
others.
unlock the Black Diamond Pass without unlocking the other tracks?
Well, you
They
just have to
disappeared.
unlock all three
Oh.
on any, and that'll unlock a black diamond for said path.
Did anyone
Yeah.
else run into
Maybe
an
I'm-
issue where it felt like, especially when you went off a ramp and you hit snow, something that looks like you just like ski on it normally, but your guy would just fall off?
fall height seems finicky in this one for sure.
Yeah,
I
It
wasn't
was
quite
hard to
sure.
read how far I could actually like go down through a shortcut before it
Like,
would
I'm not
kill
anywhere
me.
near a rock. I'm not anywhere near a tree. I'm just on snow, and my guy just decides to give up.
that's happened to me a couple of times because I've accidentally pressed the dismount button because there's
I've
a
done that
button to
before,
give up
too.
and it dismounts you
Mm.
all the time.
I
I've
think
done
that
that in
did
the
happen to
middle
me
of a
once.
winning run, and I'm just like,
That did happen to me a couple times, but it even happened after I realized what I was doing. And there were just some times where it's like he would just give up. It's just like, nope, I'm done. Too scary.
Yeah. But overall, I did have a good time with this one. I think this is a really good
Did
Game
you?
Pass game because it is like a really relatively short, easy to play, but it has a lot to it. Like there's a lot of content here if you really like it to go through. I really like the structure of this, where it's like routes on a set mountain that you can then like free roam is very fun. Because you can kind of form
Plus,
your own
having
routes
those
from the top.
alternate routes, having those alternate routes
We-
in the actual time trials was actually really, really cool
Yeah.
to discover the different ways that you could get down a mountain. I thought was
we
really
should
cool.
try the multiplayer if that's possible at some point.
I'd love
Yeah,
to.
sure.
That'd be great.
The only like I think my biggest hang up with this is I just wish there was better direction for during the trial
Yeah.
runs, like where I should be going. Because in a lot of times it felt kind of clear where it was like, oh, there's only really one direction I can be moving in. But then there were others like that big ice pool level where you just kind of don't know
that
where you need to
pond.
go. And at that point, it's just really awkward to be going and just have no indication that you're off base.
I do wonder if that's a result of having so many different paths that you can
I would
exit
assume
out
so.
onto the pond so many different ways.
So I'm almost wondering
But
if they could
then-
have like barriers or something, right? Like most other games that have multiple tracks types like this, like Mario Kart World is a great example of this that we've been playing. They just put like caution tape basically over the bits that you can't go to or shouldn't be going down during the level.
Or even
So-
because you have no control over the camera. Why not allow the camera to inform where you're supposed to go? Because during that section, it's like it really wants to emphasize this giant icy pond, and so it makes you think, "Oh, I'm going to go up." But I feel like maybe if the camera was kind of swung to
if
the
it
left,
panned
more-
down or swung
Yeah.
left, yeah, it would be more clear. All right. Any other thoughts on Lonely Mountain Snow Riders? People going to keep playing this?
I think it'll be fun
Maybe
to
off and on.
throw on as like a
Should-
like a buffer game between other games. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
same.
We
I've
should
been
try
playing
the,
this after I
Terrace
played
at
Death
some point.
Stranding to like relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, not the time trials. I never relaxed during the time trials. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is impossible to do that. But I just got the Jaguar skis and I'm good to go, baby.
Hell yeah.
All right, Alex, what's your game?
Again with the relaxing theme here because God, I need it. Little Kitty Big City is what we'd be
Love
up
it.
to next.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Then our final game, for me, the big one, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. I have been waiting to play this game, basically just until I had the time, and I was like, okay, I have an opportunity here, and picked it. I adored every second of this. I don't know.
How far have you made it?
I am well past what we would normally play, but not super far. Probably about like 10 hours into the game, I'd say. I got sidetracked finishing Death Stranding because I forgot the second was coming out and I hadn't beaten that game yet. So I did that, and then I'm getting back to Expedition 33.
I made it past the like mime a little bit. Whatever that the enemy
Mime.
is, whatever that enemy is that hits like a fucking truck after the mime. That's about where I.
After the
There's a mime in every level. I'm not sure.
You probably made it past the first one, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Have you made it onto the island?
Yeah.
The mime is in the island level. There's no way to find one beforehand.
That's what I was told. Is like get off of Lumiere and then you're
yeah. Make sure you're in the
the
mainland.
Yeah.
I
think there's a mime in Lumiere too, and I missed it. And I don't know how to go back to get it.
I don't think you can.
Ooh. I think I did that, but I'm not sure if it was a thing special. I've been adoring this. So Expedition 33 is a turn-based JRPG styled, because it's not a Japanese team, this is a French team.
Hon.
They make plenty of baguette jokes within the game. There are unlockable baguette outfits for every character, which is amazing. But it's a turn-based action game, which might sound weird because turn-based and action don't normally go together. But you can parry and you can dodge and you can do a bunch of other funky stuff. You can even jump at a certain point. I got the ability to jump.
You can just straight up shoot someone. You can just straight up dome someone if you want to.
You can dome someone. All the abilities have like timing windows. Every character has like a unique gimmick to how they play that will kind of inform your class decisions. All their skills are unique, but most can be tuned for multiple roles. It's got a super in-depth like skill and passive tuning system with Lumiere's. It like makes my little JRPG nerd brain get so excited. There's just tons of really cool like build crafting opportunities with this one.
That's where I get really confused and overwhelmed, and where my brain starts to shut off in a bad way.
The great thing, you can fully ignore that and just turn the difficulty down. That's entirely what it's there for, is you can ignore all of that if you don't want to deal with it. But yeah, on the base difficulty, they definitely expect you to learn how to do the dodges and parries and interact with those systems. If you step it down, it's way easier, so you don't need to worry about like the dodging and blocking as much.
You can also auto-complete the QTEs if you want to you want a more traditional JRPG experience as well.
There's tons of tuning here. Yeah, there's settings for it, accessibility stuff. So yeah, super tunable to your expectations. The game is gorgeous. It's got an absolutely gorgeous art style that is like, it's very hyper realistic but also surrealist at the same time, and very painterly. I think it looks absolutely wonderful.
I'm such a sucker for like floating rocks and islands.
Yes,
and this has got just all of them.
Weird like deformed Eiffel Tower in the distance. It's wonderful.
I think that
the Eiffel Tower has ED, and you're playing as Robert Pattinson.
Yep,
optional.
I think that the art style really kind of, I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say here. It like really works to its own advantage, like sort of the juxtaposition between like pretty realism, like pretty close to the realism with like characters and stuff. Maybe not what they're wearing, but
very stylized.
That's just fashion.
The character models are definitely realistic.
Yeah, character models.
Would you say it's
realistic? And a lot of like the city architecture is very realistic. So when the really surreal stuff shows up, I think it helps it.
When all of a sudden you're underwater and you see upside down buildings and you're like, what's going on? Then it actually stands out. Yeah, no, I love that.
Would you say it's painterly?
Get it? Because the enemy is the big boss is the paintress.
I'll see myself out.
Please do.
I also want to give huge props just to the opening of the game here. I think we've
Oh
played
my
a lot
God.
of. We played actually not a ton, but we played a few JRPGs on this show, and it is a consistent problem with every one of them that the openings are really slow. This is like a genre issue, and Persona especially is like. I love that franchise. I love every game in there. The opening being slow isn't a problem for me because I've played all of them and know what to expect and can get past the like couple hours of slowness at the start. Expedition 33 is like pretty slow in the first half an hour, but that's because there's a bunch of crazy stuff about to happen, and it tries to lull you into this false sense of security for what's about to go down.
I also
I
think
hope you're
that
about to be horrified to see old people.
I
Yeah.
think that first half hour too, like, is almost needed to like ease you into the world and story.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if they threw you in without that, I think that I would have a harder time with it.
That's traditionally why
I'll-
these openings are slower in most JRPGs.
And I'll say this too. I am very, very hypersensitive when it comes to slow intro in almost any game. One of the only games that I've played that has a really slow start that I haven't bounced off of was like Uncharted 4. But for the most part, if it has a slow start, I'm like,
Well,
I
you
get
had
way-
three.
I get
You had three
way
other
too
games to
antsy.
get used
Well,
to Uncharted too.
Yeah, well, it's like I get way too antsy. I am gonna push back a little bit and say this wasn't fucking slow at all. I was like enthralled the entire time.
Well, it's because
Partially
Did you search
because
for the,
where
did
other
you
partially
search
because
for the trash man?
I think there's so many moments of good writing, like that first interaction between Sophie and fuck, what's his name? Literally the main character. I can't remember his name. Oh my god,
Gustav?
this is so sad.
Gee,
Thank you.
Gustav.
Thank you. Just their first interaction was so good, and it was like 3 words back and forth to each other, but it implied so much about them, and it was just like so well written, and just like the concept of like we're gonna go celebrate basically genocide was like so bonkers, and that got me through how otherwise slow it might have felt to other people.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it was it was crazy.
Well, it's
was
also
just
very
like, what is going on?
interactive. Because
Yeah.
that to me is always the issue with like Persona's openings is you just don't get to do anything. Like you don't make a single decision during most Persona openings. And in Expedition 33, you're making a lot of choices that are like just informing you about who Gustav is, who Mael is, who Sophie is as this is getting started. And
They
meeting all these
also-
side characters. And yeah, it does a great job of establishing all of them.
They also hit you with a taste of combat pretty early on,
Yes.
and a few times throughout that opening. Because
Fit
there's a
in
few
some tutorials
JRPGs
within there.
that I have played that like it took like half an hour,
Which
to
I
even
think,
get to like a tutorial combat.
and this is so unlike me, but I also think those were like the weakest parts of that intro because
I agree.
they felt very out of place with the tone of the opening. Like it's very like there's a festival and people are kind of enjoying themselves, but also there's such a dark undertone to everything. And when it jumps into like combat mode with all this exciting music, I feel like it really breaks that atmosphere. Like I get you need a
agree.
combat tutorial, but I feel like for the most part it was kind of distracting from the actual intro.
I do agree with you there. I just think it would have been too long to go if we had waited till the first real combat encounter.
Yeah, that's for the people that would otherwise think it was very slow. Yeah, I totally get why those combat sequences are in there.
And by the time you get to the first real combat encounter, then it can be a combat encounter.
Yeah, it
and
doesn't
not
have to be.
have to tutorial it. Yeah.
I was totally fine with it being like a repeatable tutorial when you're fighting what's her face.
How
on
dare
the
you do
dock.
Mael like
I'm
that?
so bad. I'm so sorry.
Look, French
I'm
names are
so
difficult to
sorry.
remember.
It's not even listen, I'm a moron. We all know this. Let's move on. I like that was a repeatable, like you can do that combat counter as many times as you want. And I did that like maybe 3 or 4 times just to kind of wrap my head around the like dodge and parry timing and all of the like QTEs related to attacks and stuff like that. Like that was actually I think, integrated fairly well. It was just that one combat encounter on the rooftops in the very beginning where I was like, what the fuck? It just felt kind of out of place. But I
I think
understand they have to
I,
keep people engaged, or some certain groups of people engaged, which would
I
typically
think a
be myself.
couple of those in the intro, and I can't remember which exactly, but a couple of them in the intro were optional as well.
Yeah, they are.
I
A
don't
lot of the
remember
stuff that was
which.
like along that main sprawling path is optional in the start.
Let me ask you something. The useless Picto has to have a use.
Oh, absolutely,
says
it's going to have a
something
use
in-
at some point, but who
It
knows?
says,
the
"Oh, in this
description-
current form, it's useless." So I'm
Yeah.
assuming this.
For all I know, we go back and find that guy again. Well, it seems unlikely, but I have no idea.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I have really been enjoying the game. Being a little bit further in than I think anyone else got. Did anyone else get Mael as a party member once they're on the mainland? Get her back in the party?
Yes.
No, I haven't
Okay.
found her yet.
I haven't.
Yeah,
I
so
have
Thank God.
another party member after that too.
I
Okay,
thought that
sweet.
the woman who Gustav initially collapses near
Luna.
it during the
Yeah.
in the pile of bodies, I thought that was Mael at first, and I was about to fucking sob. I'm just like, no, you can't do this.
yeah, that would be rough.
That whole sequence was.
Yeah, let's mention that sequence because I think that to me is an example of what this game does so well.
Spoilers for
Right after the
opening.
opening.
Yeah.
This is the hook of the game. Of course, when you go to the mainland, it doesn't go well. And
that's an understatement.
basically an old dude with a cane shows up and massacres your party. And all the people that you've been getting to know at the start, you don't know what's happened to them. Gustav is milliseconds away from ending himself.
Oh
as
God,
he's sitting
yeah,
on thinking
that's
his
right.
entire party's dead before one of them manages to show up again, and Luna is like, hey, don't do that, I'm still alive. Let's keep going. And yeah, it's a really strong start. I think it is just like unrelentingly sad in a way
He was
too,
about
which
to end himself Persona style too.
yeah, he
Oh my
was he was gonna do something bad, and yeah, I think the entire start here is just super strong, very cinematic. The actual like combat sequences at the start are really fun and enjoyable, and I can't wait to see what was up with that old dude.
Mm.
Because yeah, the whole idea of there being an old person in a world where everyone has to be under 32 or 32 or under is really interesting, and you have to be like, well, what do I
This
do
may
now?
have been.
It's
This
like
may have been due
your
to
old
the fact.
gets decapitated.
This may have been due to the fact that I am an idiot, but it did take me a little while to wrap my head around how all of this works in terms of like the number. So like I was thinking of this scenario in my head. I'm like, okay, so everyone who's 34 years old in the opening dies, right?
Mhm.
What if but and then there's supposed to be no one that's older than 34.
Yeah.
What if you run into a scenario where someone is 34, but then say a few days before they're supposed to die, they turn 35, right? Like
That's
they turn
exactly my
35
question.
before the
How
Well, then
how are
they
they not
die.
old people that way? Yeah.
So
It's everyone
would they
above
also
that
just
age.
die?
Yeah,
Oh.
everyone above the age.
Yeah, I mean, I think
dies.
it's just-
So it's not
magic.
30. It's not 34. It's 34 and above.
Yeah, 34 and up. I would assume.
Oh.
Okay.
But maybe they'll address that again at some point. But like, I think functionally that it wouldn't matter because if it's lined up with the year, it's gonna happen at some point, regardless. Because as long as you became 32 within the year, up until the last moment, you'll still get gamaged.
To be clear,
Yeah,
do I think this is a big issue? No. Was it something that I was thinking of in the back of my head during this entire intro? Yes.
Wyatt, I was the exact same way. I'm just like, wait, but
Because I'm not typically
the
one of those
math.
people.
Hang on.
I'm not typically one of those people that nitpicks tiny little details. Like I'm not that kind of person that doesn't like that bit in The Last Jedi where Holdo just goes through the entire like first
Oh my
order
God.
cruiser, because that's not how ships work. I don't give a shit about any of that. But it was just like
I can rant
it was
about
like-
that in the opposite direction. I think people are dumb that think that's dumb, but
let's
whatever.
not get sidetracked. But I do
Yeah,
want to
see,
hear that.
the
rant
biggest
at some
question
point.
is whether or not leap years exist, because then that.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like when you think about it a little bit, it starts to break down, and I have a lot of questions about.
I don't think it breaks down. I think it's just we're thinking about it too hard.
No, let me finish, because that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't really matter, because the emotions, what's happening with the characters in that moment is still very effective and very well done. And so I don't care about the smaller details because I'm getting wrapped up in this world.
Yeah. But I am very interested when those smaller details are going to matter, because I'm sure they will. Like, I'm sure at some point we're going to get actual clarity on a lot of these things.
Here's the thing, too. If they don't address it, I'm also fine with that. Because, again, I don't think it matters. If they want to take it and turn it into a really interesting plot point for a character or a number of characters or whatever, totally fine with that. They also, I don't think they're under any sort, like, I don't think they have to address it at all. And just, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think the only thing that has to be addressed is the why. Like, why is this happening, right? That's the core mystery
that's
of the
different.
game.
That's not a small detail. That's that's really part of the story of the plot. But
not having
whatever, it doesn't matter.
Not having gotten like too far as far into it as Ryan. This absolutely could be me just being racist and thinking all French people look the same. Did the old man look like Gustav to you guys?
Okay,
because he did to me.
I agree with you on this. I have not seen anything else about this game. I know no spoilers whatsoever. I'm so curious if that's because right after that sequence, there's a camp scene where you and Luna are sitting down, and Luna goes, "Didn't you see his face?" And I thought she was referencing that he looked like Gustav, but not that he was old. But I also don't know if I'm just fully off base. I might be completely off base with that because they both had beards.
What if it is?
But that's clearly not what she meant, because she then clarifies his age, dude. Like, he was old.
Yeah. No, I've had the same thought, and I don't want to get too much into the plot, because I know I'm fairly far as well.
Yeah.
Well, fairly far compared to most people who are on this podcast.
You're very similar, close to where I am right now, assuming you didn't get much past that fourth party member.
Yeah, I've had that fourth party member for not particularly long. But there's been further cutscenes, and I don't think he looks exactly the same, but I do think there is a resemblance.
It also has me wondering, like, maybe Dad?
Have to wonder.
Maybe Dad.
I have to wonder. I mean, if it's intentional or not. I'm wondering everything about this game. I also think he looks like. Oh shoot! I can't think of his name now. He played James Bond like 2 Bonds
Pierce
ago.
Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. I think he looks like Pierce Brosnan.
Which is totally possible. Like, it could just be that we're looking at an older man with a beard compared to the younger man with a beard.
His hair is kind of similar.
Well, that's the thing. You can change the hair, though. So, like, maybe it isn't the same. We could just be overthinking this.
I want to be overthinking it. I want this to be the case. I want there to be wacky time travel shit.
I mean...
Brett is pulling his hair out right now, having finished this game, and just...
Can't wait for him to call me an idiot off stream.
You're often seeing him in black and white, so...
Yeah, so you don't know if it's just the color filter doing weird things. I am curious. So this is a fun one, because we're all pretty similarly spaced as to how far in we got, and we know the general concept here is the Paintress being this big final boss. I just want to do a little thing we haven't done before and just take bets. Is the Paintress the final boss of this game?
No.
Yeah, there's no way. Absolutely no way. Is my take.
The fact that they're talking about it constantly makes me think that she's not even, because I did find it very.
I'm wondering if she's even like alive.
Well,
we see her.
Brought up a very interesting point in the intro where she was like, "Well, maybe she's, maybe she's kind of a prisoner in all of this as well."
That's what I was thinking
forced
too.
To do this by some higher power.
I wonder if the story here is going to be Gustav getting over his anger rather than it being a revenge thing, or if it's just going to go super dark.
9 times out of 10, when a story does this much and tries this hard to communicate who the villain is, 9 times out of 10, they're either not the actual villain,
or they're not a villain at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree that they've like really built the Paintress up as the main villain, but they also continue to build questions about the Paintress.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's very good to me. I've been having a great time with those questions. So
I think that even the characters, like you said, have questioned it, and like not far into getting onto the island, I think we've all passed this point. They meet something, one of the
The white
Nevrons.
painted thing and painted Nevron.
Exactly, the white Nevron, and they're like, "Well, shit! I thought all Nevrons were evil. Why is this guy like
Just
chill?"
chilling.
So there's definitely like a lot more going on than we know, and I think that every step of the way I get in the game, it introduces more questions and answers like a 16th of a question I had.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah, I've been having a great time with this. Special mention here to music. The soundtrack
Oh,
is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
It's so beautiful.
it's-
Oh my god.
Absolutely amazing, and like the story of how the developers met the musician that did most of the soundtrack is crazy
God.
too. If it was a complete circumstance meaning as well, which is just really funny. Yeah, the soundtrack is absolutely incredible. The combat music is great. All the different area themes are wild. Like I think Alex might be the only one who made it there, but the underwater area and the like theme in that spot where it's like all
I made it way
ethereal and
past
whatnot.
there.
Love that spot. The theme in there. So I've just loved all the different music approaches here. Also, world map. Love that there's a world map. I adore that they just went for a world map with a fully realistic art style game, because there's been a lot of JRPGs that have been like, oh well, world maps are just kind of outdated now because they're not realistic and whatnot. But every time a new JRPG has one, I'm like just like, so excited.
I do
and
like
I think
that there's
this is a
not
great approach to it.
random encounters on the world map, though.
Yeah.
Because
So you know what? You know what
bugs
game
me.
also had a world map in it? Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yeah, and I like that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, as crazy as it is, but
And all the characters were turned into like chibi versions of themselves with these fucking giant
Yep.
heads. It's hilarious. Anyway,
I love having it. It's a very comfort thing to me to have a world
Right.
map.
You made me think of this when we were talking about the underwater area and how it sort of has its own theme. I do like to, and I hope to see it sort of like remixed and mashed up and taken further later. Each area seems to have its own sort of subtype of enemy
Yes.
that often share a weakness, often share a strength,
Or at
but
least
not
like a
entirely.
visual language.
And a visual language. And I'm willing to bet we'll see these mashed together more later and further introduced. I mean, every
Yeah.
area I've been to now has introduced multiple new types of enemies. So I figure
And yeah,
every
the
new
only
area will.
complaint I've had with combat so far, I'm curious, Alex, I think you're the only one that's gotten this far, if you agree with me. Once you unlock the jump, there's a jump ability you have in combat. You can jump over attacks that
Yes.
are jumpable, which is generally pretty specific things.
They show a specific.
It is then unclear what is actually jumpable in some areas. There's like one boss that also does the jumpy move and that you jump over the first time that you then cannot jump over.
I only jump when it cues me to jump.
Yeah, that one has felt weird to me. That's the only bit of combat where I'm like a little iffy on, because it feels hard to read when I should be jumping, because sometimes it seems like I should be and then it doesn't work.
I've seen some stuff do like a ground pound and then it wanted me to dodge.
Yeah. But I do like the options of parrying and dodging and how those are worked into the system. And just the
I've
general
done
flow of
very
combat is really
little
solid.
Parrying, partially because that button on my controller is starting to go. But it does seem neat. And I do like sort of the difficulty in, and maybe on lower difficulties it gives you a bigger window or more of a prompt, I don't know. But I like the sort of challenge in recognizing the rhythm for the dodging. And
I agree.
learning.
That's one of my favorite parts, is the rhythm part of it. All right. So we talked a lot about Expedition 33. It seems like opinion is generally pretty positive on this one. I'm obviously going to keep playing this. This is, for me, a contender for Game of the Year. It's right up there with KCD 2 for me. So I'm curious what the rest of you think. Are people going to finish this one, keep playing it, or do you think it's not for you?
I'm gonna keep playing it. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it anytime soon.
there's a lot of, because I really liked this one. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, but there's a lot of stuff on my radar right now that I think does get priority, but I would feel ashamed of myself if I didn't finish it at some point, because I'm very intrigued, and I'm very impressed by especially the writing so far. So I
Yeah, well, I've
definitely
also
like it.
very happy with what I've heard. This is a pretty controlled length game.
Mhm.
Like, it sounds like beating it is not going to be 100 hours minimum to get to the end, like Persona tends to be. It's going to be, oh, you
That's
can
good.
beat it in like 40
that scares
hours.
me away sometimes.
Yeah, you can beat it in like 40 hours, but there's like way more extra content to do if you want to.
I'm looking up how long to beat right now as we speak. I'm very
Yeah, so I'm
curious.
excited to jump in more and finish this. The game I'm gonna pick.
Oh, you're not
I'm
gonna
actually
ask me
gonna
if
ask.
I'm gonna finish the game?
Oh yeah, I thought you said. Are you gonna finish the game,
I'm
Alex?
I'm
I
gonna
figure
finish
you
the game.
are. Yeah. You know, I figured
I
that
got
was a
distracted by
given.
Dredge, but
Yeah. You pulled away for a second. Okay, so my next pick, game that I'm super interested in, I'm very curious about, Rematch, the online football game by the Sifu devs.
I knew you were gonna pick
Fascinating.
this one. I felt it in my bones.
It was that or
Ryan.
the Altars. Those were my two
Yeah,
picks, and the
yeah.
Altars has been picked.
those were
so.
basically my two picks too, and I had like a third if everybody else picked them.
But hey, the nice thing, it's got a 4v4, so we can all get on and play a football.
Oh, that's gonna go well. That's gonna go so well.
I can't wait. All right. Well, that's our Game Pass games. Time for shoutouts. And it's the end of the show. Who's got a shout out? Who's ready?
Shout out to the PowerPoint party that I had
Very
yesterday.
fun.
It was really, really fun. There was a lot of really funny. If you don't know the concept, everyone creates a presentation and just presents it to everyone else there. Mine was about how through the use of the hero's journey, I could make a strong argument that Jar Jar Binks is the main character of Phantom Menace. There are a lot of other great ones in there. Like which one's the most? Who's the sexiest U.S. president? It was really funny. There was one about which one is the most which Pokemon has the most friendship vibes, and there was like a tier list of
Great.
least friendly to most friendly, which was great. It was a freaking blast.
Very good. I'll jump in. Shout out to Ballerina, the new spin-off movie of the John Wick series. It was really good. I had a good time with it. The most gratuitous use of flamethrowers I think I've ever seen. It was great.
Oh,
More so than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I would say so. There was a flamethrower shot where it
Wow.
repeated 3 times. It was in slow-mo, and for a second I was like, wait, what am I watching?
Crazy.
That's awesome.
It was great. I think they had a lot of fun with flamethrowers on set. So
Well, who wouldn't?
there's only 2 of you left.
I'll go. Because I was your first. No, I'm kidding. My shout out's gonna be to Vampire the Masquerade tabletop RPG. I'm getting ready to shift my D&D group into Vampire. I'm excited about it. I've been prepping it a bunch. It's cool. Vampire version 5 is not as bad as people say, in my opinion. Don't listen to the grognards who like to play second edition or
Grognards?
whatever. Yeah, grognards.
Yeah, Rognards.
I like it.
Not that the old versions are bad; they're very good too. But
You're gonna have
they did
Grognards coming after you, Wyatt, for not knowing the term Grognards. It's about to happen.
I've pissed off so many fan bases at this point. Fucking bring it on. I don't give a shit.
Look,
Alright.
we had an episode once where you complained about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, so they
I did?
followed the show.
I did.
No, I just
No, you weren't on that
okay.
the podcast.
I was like, I've never played 5e. What the fuck are you talking about?
one. All right, Alex, what is your shout out? So
the
much
cone of
suspense.
shame.
You know, that's a good shout out. The poor puppy in the cone of shame.
Aw.
On that note, as always, Tuesdays, podcast platform of choice, YouTube, Twitch, all the places. We'll be there. Or be square.
Yeah. Tell him right.
Watch the Split Fiction playthrough. It's really fun.
Oh, very excited to play that.
I'm not
I
going to
will
watch
say,
a Split Fiction playthrough because I need to play it.
Yeah.